so nice hearing from so many of you, and such a wonderful thing to see so many different members of the community of all ages share their love for poetry. It was just a treat for me to hear you all speak. So thank you.
Welcome back, darlings. I'm Cognac Wellerlane, and I am here with News 12 anchor and reporter Elisa DiStefano, and she was, of course, the MC for today's event.
Yes.
And she is a beloved fan of poems.
Yes.
When did this all start for you?
I love poetry as far back as nursery rhymes. And as a little girl, I would beg my mom to take me to the library to get Shel Silverstein, and I would beg her to read it to me before I could really read it myself. So every night when I'd take a bath, we'd do There's Too Many Kids in the Tub, There's Too Many Elbows to Rub, and that's when it started.
And that's when it started. And here you are today, being the MC for this wonderful event. Now, can you tell my audience where we could go to find out more information about the Walt Whitman
I think you go to a thing called Google, and you type in Walt Whitman Birthplace, and there you will find all the information that you need.
Well, Elisa, keep loving those poems, and thank you for so much for coming and supporting. And
thank you. Double.
And we'll be back in a moment, darlings. More interviews coming up. Keep watching Pink Champagne Kisses.
Birthplace Favorite Poem Project. I'm Cynthia Shor, Executive Director of a nonprofit organization that operates the site for New York State. I welcome all of you community members who are participating in our poetry project scheduled for April, Poetry Month, National Poetry Month. This is our second Democratic Vistas program. It's called Voices of Democracy, where we're including multicultural voices in our favorite poem project. I welcome our honored guest and MC, Elisa DiStefano. Where is Elisa? There she is. Yay, Elisa. And I thank you, Elisa, for taking the time to support the community and their favorite poems for this event. I welcome all the media personnel who are here today, Andy Hyde of Cablevision, and I believe that Long Island Press and Long Island Exchange is here also.
Welcome back, darlings. I'm Cognac Wellerlane, and we are here at the Walt Whitman Birthplace, a very historical place right here in Huntington, Long Island. And I am here with this lovely lady who coordinated this wonderful event today. It's all about poems. Introduce yourself to the camera, darling.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Shor. I'm the Executive Director of the Walt Whitman Birthplace Association, and we operate the site for New York State.
Now tell my audience about this event this afternoon. What is it really all about?
It's really all about individuals, and we know everyone has a favorite poem. They may be not poetry lovers, and maybe they just have one poem in their heart. And this is an example of an event to get those people to share that poetry.
Now, I love poetry, and I know wonderful poems, but there's a lot of people out there that really do not understand what a poem is. Most people think poems are writings that rhyme, but there are some poems that do not rhyme. Can you tell my audience what distinguishes a piece of writing that does not rhyme that becomes a poem?
Well, it's all about the language. So the language, if it doesn't rhyme, then it has to have other beauty. And the beauty can be in the rhythm, it can be in the assonance, the repetition of the sounds, the repetitions of the initial letter, and that's what adds the beauty to it. Sometimes there's internal rhyme, so there might be two words rhyming next to each other, but they don't rhyme at the end of the line. And so that's the technical, skillful part of poetry. And then the other part of poetry, like any art, is inspiration. So the writer or the poet must take the inspiration and channel it through the words using the skills that they can, and we leave it up to the community of readers to see if it's a poetry or not, but it doesn't have to rhyme.
Absolutely, and that is why I wanted to speak to you, because many people are confused about what really a poem should be. Now, tell my audience briefly a little bit of the history behind the Walt Whitman Birthplace.
Well, Walt Whitman was born here in a house on this site. The house was built by his father, And he was born in 1819, and he lived here till he was 4. Being a builder, the elder Whitman, his name was also Walter Whitman, moved the family to Brooklyn where there were new houses going up. And he went to Brooklyn and he flipped houses. He was one of the original flippers. And Walt grew up in Brooklyn up until age 11. We know he went to school until that age. That was the age of compulsory education. And then he went to work. He went to work for a journalist where he furthered his education. And the journalist bought him a library card because at that time they weren't free. It wasn't a public library. So with the library card called a conscription, like you would join a country club, you had to join the library system. And he became self-educated, much like Abraham Lincoln.
How fascinating.
And he grew up then and worked for the newspaper, and then he also went to work for a law firm. And as being a scribe and an office boy, he learned language, he learned the law, he learned about ethics, he learned about history. And this is at the tender age of 11, 12, and 13. By 14 and 15, he was back on Long Island, and he was a teacher. And he would live in the homes on Long Island and be the teacher. He started the newspaper, The Long Islander, which is still in print today. And then he began writing political tracts. He actually was a journalist before he was a poet.
Well, that's wonderful, and I'm so glad that you were able to tell my audience the history of this remarkable place. Can you tell my audience where we could go to find out more information? What is the website?
Yes, come to our website, www.waltwhitman.org. Very easy to remember, and we have lots of events here, not just literary. We have family days, we have Victorian tea parties.
I love that.
We have educational programs.
And I understand that you're also going to be having a tea party for Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, that's right.
I'd like to come to that.
Oh, you have to come. It's one of our most popular events. It's so popular we had to open up a second section. So the people that couldn't get here on Mother's Day weekend are coming, I think, a week later for it.
Fabulous. Well, thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you
so
very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And we'll be back. Yes, and we will be back in a moment, darlings, with more interviews. Keep watching. Big champagne kisses.
Okay. Cheers.
I'm also a teacher. I teach government. So there is a Walt Whitman poem that I'm going to share that kind of reminds me of the significance of elections, and also since we have an important election on Tuesday, which is primary day. And usually New York gets lost in all the political clout because, you know, once you're nominated to be president, people forget about New York because it usually swings Democratic. And normally when people are campaigning for the nomination, usually it's sealed up before New York has its primary. But the past few weeks, it's been like a circus with all the candidates going in and out of Long Island. And it's been a lot of fun because you had Mrs. Sanders, Mrs. Clinton, and of course, all 3 Republican nominees, you know, Mr. Trump, and of course, Mr. Kasich, and Mr. Cruz, all in the area. And I got to know one of them pretty well over the past few weeks, and that was Governor Kasich. And his campaign notified me last Sunday night, and they said, you know, Governor Kasich is coming to Hofstra. I'm a 3-time Hofstra grad, and I also teach there. So they said, would you like to introduce him? I said, I'd be honored, right? You have somebody that's running for president. So we meet, we talk, and he goes, Lupinacci, you're Italian. I'm coming to Huntington tonight to speak at the Paramount, and I want good Italian food. So I said, fine. I said, I know all the Italian restaurants. I love food. I worked in the restaurants. I said, I'm going to bring you to my cousin's restaurant, Sal D's. It's located on Wall Street. I thought he'd be very busy. I said, we could plate the food for you at the Paramount. His staff goes, no, we want to come to the restaurant. So we bring him, you know, of course, down there. I thought he was going to blow us off at one point because he had to get back to Ohio to see his wife and his children. Meal goes absolutely well. I'll give you the details because I don't want to speak too long on what he actually ate. Last Wednesday night, I'm in my friend's real estate office and I see an Ohio number pop up. And I thought it was going to be a telemarketer, so I was going to send a voicemail. It's the governor's staff. Governor's coming back into Huntington. He wants good Italian food. Where can we go? His airplane lands at Republic at 10 o'clock. On a Wednesday night, 10 o'clock, a lot of the restaurants are closing. We get La Parma. They'll say they'll keep it open for the governor. Has an excellent meal. Then on Friday night, I get another phone call. The motorcade's coming from New Jersey, from Governor Christine Todd Whitman's house to Great Neck. Can you find us something? So he had a great meal in Manhasset. So he's a really genuine person who loves good food, loves Long Island, loves New York. Doesn't matter who you vote for, but he does love this place. And I actually, when his motorcade was passing down 110, because it went from Republic Airport, went down to Jericho Turnpike, and then La Parma's on Jericho Turnpike, I did have them point out the Walt Whitman house to it. what a great place it was for the area. So just want to make sure that at least one of the highlight. So I'm bringing you back to the year 1884. And Walt Whitman did write a poem on Election Day, November 1884. This was the 25th presidential election. And you know, just to kind of refresh your recollection of who won that election, actually the governor of New York won, Grover Cleveland. And he won a very close election against the senator of Maine, who was a Democrat, Senator Blaine. And it was good because at least it's competitive. They both had good ideas, so I like when there's close elections, so you know both are working hard, both have good ideas, and hopefully we'll get a candidate who will govern from the middle. Grover Cleveland wins 48.85% to 48.28%. Okay?
Wow.
He didn't receive a majority of the popular vote. He does win a majority of the electoral vote. Back then, today we have 538 electoral votes. Back in 1884, we had 401. So you needed 201 to win a majority of the electoral college. He did win the electoral college 219 to 182, so he becomes president. And so it just kind of shows you the closeness of this election. Sometimes people don't really think about the election of 1884, but the significance was it was the first time a Democrat was elected since 1856. So in other words, it was Republican governance since that time. So I also share this with my presidential studies class because I really like this because it shows the peaceful transition of power we have. So again, this is by Walt Whitman, and it's Election Day, November 1884. If I should need to name a Western world, your powerfulest scene and show, 'twould not be you, Niagara, not you, ye limitless prairies, nor your huge rifts of canyons, Colorado, nor you, Yosemite, nor Yellowstone, with all its spasmic geyser loops ascending to the skies, appearing and disappearing, nor Oregon's white cones, nor Huron's belt of mighty lakes, nor Mississippi streams. This seething hemisphere's humanity is now, I name the still small voice vibrating, America's choosing day. The heart of it, not in the chosen, the act itself, the main, the quadrennial choosing, the stretch of north and south aroused, seaboard and inland, Texas to Maine, the prairie states, Vermont, Virginia, California, the final ballot shower from east to west, the paradox and conflict, the countless snowflakes falling, a swordless conflict, yet more than all Rome's wars of old, or of modern Napoleon's, the peaceful choice of all, or good or ill humanity, welcoming the darker odds, the dross, foams and ferments the wine, it serves to purify, while the heart pants, life glows. These stormy gusts and winds, while precious ships swell Washington's, Jefferson's, Lincoln's sails. So I think a very pretty poem.
Well, I happen to be a Maya Angelou fan. And she just speaks to the realities that go on in the world. And I've always loved the Still I Rise poem because it speaks to just courage and perseverance. I'm never going to be able to do this any justice, but I will do my best. How about that? Okay. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why you are beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns and with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still, I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my hauntiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I have gold mines, digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from the past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide. Welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am a dream and the hope of a slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Thank you.
I chose something. I went to a women's empowerment luncheon, and I chose something that kind of hit me here. So it's kind of a quote. It's not really a poem, but it is from a spiritual author named Marianne Williamson, and it's called Our Deepest Fear. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Welcome back, darlings. I'm Cognac Wellerlane, and we are here at the Walt Whitman Birthplace. And I'm here with Regina, and she's going to introduce herself and tell you why she is here this afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Regina Hunt. I am a trustee for the South Country Library and the South Country School District, which is out in Brookhaven, out in Bellport. And I was nominated by a very good friend of mine who nominated me to read for this poetry event. And it was very, very touching to me. And not only was I excited and humbled, but to read something that felt really close to the heart. And I think it empowered some people, because I know it empowered me.
Yes, it was very empowering. I really enjoyed this afternoon. It was so delightful to hear these lovely poems.
Yes, it was.
And that was your favorite poem that you read. Tell my audience what you read.
I read, it was an excerpt from a book by Marianne Williamson, and it was Our Deepest Fear. And so we often feel inadequate, which is part of the poem, that we're not good enough to do certain things. But God tells us we have to let our light shine, because it is all in us. We all do have gifts. And
we all have an inner light that shines within us.
That's right. So we have to let the inner light come out. And when that comes out, then, you know, you're not inadequate at all.
Well, thank you, Regina, so much for giving us telling us about how you feel about this afternoon, and it was so lovely to interview you.
Yes, thank you so much. It was wonderful.
And we will be back in a moment, darlings. Keep watching. More interviews coming up. Big champagne kisses.
Fabulously dressed to impress. One of a kind girl. It's been a Crybaby Productions, darlings.